Hey, I have it working right away this time because that's how on it I am in March. Is it still March? Yeah, March. This is the March report. Um, oh, but now let's see. Hey, Judith. Thanks for joining me. Hi, folks who are joining. I'm going to wait a little bit so that there's time for people to get here. But let me know who you are. Say hi. Say hey and where you're tuning in from. And also let me know if the levels are good. I'm using a different mic, so does this sound work okay? Let me know. So far I only see Judith saying hi to me, but I can also see that there's 9 people, so say hey. Let's see, let me get my script ready. Hey, Ambrosia. Hi, Ken. Nice to see your name there. Hi, David. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Love to hear where you are. Thanks for the feedback, Ambrosia. Hey, Jessica. Get to the beginning of this. Maybe I'll wait till we've got a couple more people. Please, in the meantime, share this with your friends. Post it to your wall. Let people know that you're here and that they should come join you too. So come join me. And don't forget to say, hey, if you're here, let me know you're tuning in. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Love to see your name. Love to give you a shout out. Welcome to the folks who are joining. And let me get my chat open so that Garrett and I can be talking to each other about anything I need to know. And then we'll get going. Hi, Bob from Seattle. Nice to see you, and thanks for sharing. While folks are doing that, make sure that when you do share, you use the hashtag #MoveToAmend. And if you've already shared, maybe do it again. Use the hashtag #MoveToAmend, and we'll pick a lucky winner at the end to get one of these stickers. Oops, there's a delay, so I want to wait until... I can't tell if you can see this. There we go. One of these stickers. We'll pick one of the folks who share using the hashtag #MoveToAmend at the end. So go ahead and share it right now. Hey, Michael, nice to see you. So let's get started. Hey, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Move to Amend's monthly live stream, the Move to Amend Report. This is the space where you can hear the latest about what's going down in the movement to amend the U.S. Constitution and legalize democracy. And I'm your host, Caitlin Saposi-Belknap, Move to Amend's National Director. As always, you can find us here on the 4th Wednesday of every month at 5 o'clock Pacific right here on Facebook Live. So be sure to like, comment during the conversation, share this, and tag your friends. Tell us where you're tuning in from, and if you have any questions, we'll answer them in real time. And if you're listening to the recording, we'll answer them as soon as we can. And we give some free stuff out at the end of the show. So if you comment or share with the hashtag #MoveToAmend, we'll pick a lucky winner to get one of our End Corporate Personhood stickers right here. That's what it looks like. And don't worry if you don't win because you could also get one of these if you go follow us on at Instagram, and you could also win one of these stickers there. So Garrett will post the link to where you can find us on Instagram. So hey, Michael. Hey, let's see. David from Arkansas. I already said hey, but nice to know where you are. Diane, hey, from Montana. Nice to see you. Okay, so there's a lot that happened in March. So let's jump right in. First of all, I want to talk about something happening here locally, here in Sacramento. We have to address the police killing of Stephon Clark just a week ago. Our hearts go out to his family and friends. Stephon Clark was 23 years old and the father of 2 young children. He was holding only an iPhone when 2 officers from the Sacramento Police Department shot him 20 times in the back and killed him. And if you're unaware, our national office, where I'm talking to you from right now, is based in Sacramento, just a few miles from where the shooting happened. So this latest case of police violence hits especially close to home for us here in Sacramento. And we've fully support the work and actions organized by Black Lives Matter here in our community and nationally. We've been doing what we can to be part of the actions of protests and calls for police accountability. This included shutting down I-5 last Friday, and the NBA Kings game, which is our home team here in Sacramento, last Friday, but also again last night briefly, to let everyone know that our city will not be doing business as usual when our people are getting gunned down. This violence against communities of color, particularly Black men, has to stop. The shooting of Stephon Clark was at least the third shooting death of a Black man by Sacramento police in 2 years, and that's just in Sacramento. This is not democracy. This is not a functional democracy. In democracies, people get due process and a fair trial if they're suspected of a crime. They don't get shot in their own backyards, and we know that police do not get held accountable for these crimes. His family deserves justice, and we won't let Sacramento continue to do business as usual until justice is served. So my colleagues and I have been out when we can, protesting and putting in as much time as possible. It's important that not just the Black community come out in support of Black lives. And so we have been making every effort to those of us who are white attend. And also want to give a special acknowledgement to Keon Bliss, our grassroots volunteer coordinator, for being an exceptional leader in the local Black Lives Matter protests and being an integral part of the demonstrations that are going on in Sacramento to make sure that Stephon's family gets justice. So we'll keep you posted on what's going on here in Sacramento. I know that the whole country is paying attention. Thank you for that. But it's important that we not look away, that we focus the attention. And we're really hopeful that here in Sacramento, police will actually be held accountable, since that is not what normally happens. So we're going to do everything that we can to make this the exception, and then perhaps, if at all possible, the trend going forward, because this is so important. It's really devastating to see the trauma, the anguish, the pain, the anger, the frustration on the part of people who are coming out to these protests and speaking at the city council. Stephon's brother last night basically kind of shut down the city council meeting personally, speaking passionately about not just his brother's death, but all the pieces that kind of lead up to the situation that we're in. The poverty, gentrification in Sacramento is off the charts right now. Rents have doubled since we moved here 2 years ago, moved our office here. A lot of people moving from the Bay Area. We don't have rent control here in Sacramento, although there is a campaign for that we're trying to support as well. And then just years and years and years of the police targeting Black communities. The reason why the police were even in Stephon's neighborhood that night is because there was a call for a vandal that was maybe breaking car windows, and they sent in a helicopter and armed police for something that's a misdemeanor at worst. That wouldn't happen in my neighborhood. And there's no reason for it. And it was dark. He didn't know, that they were even there. They never identified themselves as police, and they gave him 2 seconds before they shot him 20 times. And that, unfortunately, is the norm. We've all heard these stories, but when it happens just a couple miles away, it's even more heartbreaking. So our hearts go out to his family. They had the funeral today, and we will continue to follow this and be involved as much as we can, because this is critical. We can't have a democracy when not everybody's lives matter the same. We can't have a democracy when whole entire parts of our community. Sacramento is a very diverse community. It has a large Black community, and that whole community doesn't feel safe. That means we don't have a democracy. That means that we're not all free and protected by our laws. And so we will do what we can to stand up against that and to call for justice. Some other things that happened in March, kind of turning to more the national stage, is this Facebook Cambridge Analytica data leak. By far the biggest story of the month, and somewhat still developing. But basically, Facebook willingly funneled private profile data for over 50 million Americans to Steve Bannon, and right-wing billionaire Robert Mercer, and a company called Cambridge Analytica, which nobody had heard of until just a few weeks ago. They specialize in election interference. Seriously, what the heck? That is the company's basically mandate in what they do, election interference. You were probably involved in this scandal without even realizing it, and it's kind of unbelievable that it happened, but it did. And now we have to figure out what we're going to do about it. We've known for years that the business models of tech giants like Facebook is to scrape every bit of personal information out of our phones, computers, tablets, and to sell it to the highest bidder. There's a reason why Facebook is free. It is because we are the product, and it is being sold to, our information is being sold to companies. So that by itself should be alarming enough, since the use of secret algorithms on social media platforms already have the complete control over what you see and what you don't. And we all know that the internet is critical at this point for the way that we communicate with each other. But it's private, so we don't really have a say over how it works and what happens and what's going on. But then this scandal is even bigger and more breathtaking because of the extent of how methodological and unethical the Cambridge Analytica and company and Steve Bannon were in psychologically manipulating all of us in the last election. It really sounds like science fiction and some kind of Orwellian novel, but this is actually what's happening, and it's still happening. As a writer in The Guardian, and have to give a shout out and props to The Guardian for covering this, and continuing to cover it and being one of the only sources that really is doing investigative journalism. So they said that we have now reached the point where an unaccountable private corporation is holding detailed data on over a quarter of the world's population. And the thing is that they're not just, tracking it and then just storing it away, which is disturbing, but they're sharing it, and then they're basically doing psychoanalysis on all of us, and then that was used to try, and it looks like successfully to some degree, influence the election, in this case in favor of Trump, but they do this in other elections around the world. So a private corporation not only has your data, but it also has your constitutional rights. So this is definitely corporate rule, and it's definitely terrifying. If we believe that information is power, then Facebook, Steve Bannon, and their billionaire backers have all the power. They know every click you make on Facebook, who your friends are, what their information is, what makes you happy, what disgusts you, what makes you sad, what triggers you. You get the picture. So this allowed the Trump campaign to create micro-targeted political ads based on personality types, not substantive policy matters, and then share information that wasn't even necessarily true to people who they knew would be swayed by that information based on their psychoanalysis. This is psychological warfare firmly embedded in the democratic process by the campaign of a sitting U.S. president, and it means that Steve Bannon, who is overt, explicit, and proud fascist and Nazi, effectively was able to secretly whisper anything he wanted into the ears of virtually any American voter. But really, it's important to emphasize that it isn't just Facebook, it's the entire business model of profit at all costs. Countless other companies like Google hold similarly vast amounts of your personal information and know every word that you type into an email or the search engine. Netflix and Hulu know exactly what you're watching on TV. Facebook also, as people are downloading their data, are finding out that it's actually tracking the calls that we're making, potentially recording them. We could go on for days with all the ways that we are being tracked and analyzed, and then having information manipulated and put back to us based on that tracking. So all of this is the epitome of corporate rule, and until we get serious about democracy and passing the 28th Amendment, we're really completely powerless to do anything about it. So this is yet another reason why we need to pass the 28th Amendment, or the We the People Amendment. And I see Ken adding in, I can't see your whole comment, but yeah, so Facebook allowed Cambridge Analytica to access. So first of all, we do agree to a certain amount of data being shared, which a lot of people don't even know. And I think it's questionable whether at this point a platform that is so necessary for us to be able to communicate with each other should be allowed to track that data. But there's fine print and we technically agree to it. But even further, they actually shared more data than that, and under the guise that they were doing educational studies. But again, these educational studies were then used by fascists to elect our president. Or the person who is president of the United States. So, it went beyond just the user agreements and the tremendous amount of power that they have under that. They had then also cheated and lied. So we're going to continue to track that story, and I hope that you will too. And we all need to figure out what we're going to do about it, because right now that's the most powerful weapon in the world, is being able to manipulate people's minds and opinions. And we see that is happening. And right now there's no mechanism for accountability. And we don't even know the full extent of it. We're just finding out. So we have to figure out what we're going to do about it. I do not know what the answer is, but it's not something we can kind of just put to the side and not think isn't going to impact everything that we try to do. So now let's talk about some good news, though. Let's talk about our affiliates, our awesome local volunteers who are working all across the country for the amendment campaign. And a reminder, if you're just joining us, to please share this feed on your Facebook wall and let your friends know you're here and invite them to join us. If you use the hashtag #MoveToAmend, when you do that, we will pick one person who's done that and share with you or send to you one of our bumper stickers to end corporate personhood. And also a reminder that we are doing a giveaway. If you come follow us on Instagram, we are also sharing these stickers with folks who follow us on Instagram this month. So please come join us there too. Okay, so shout outs for affiliates, our affiliate organizers and supporters in Arizona. I was very happy to get to see our folks in Tucson and our folks in Prescott when I was barnstorming there earlier this month. Gosh, it seems like a long time ago, but it was in March. They organized stops in their communities and speaking events and brought in new folks. We also had several stops organized by new people who are coming to join Move to Amend in Phoenix and Sedona and Flagstaff. So thank you all for your terrific work. Look forward to working with the new folks who are coming to Move to Amend from those other communities. A shout out to Sarasota Move to Amend in Florida for collecting around 1,000 petition signatures during their March for Democracy. Great job. Shout out to our Pennsylvania affiliate in Lower Bucks and Philadelphia for teaming up to table and speak at a local rally in Germantown, Pennsylvania. We're informed that Lower Bucks Move to Amend organizer Eugene Pesner gave a great speech in support of the March on Harrisburg and will focus on electoral issues such as partisan gerrymandering. So keep up the good work in Pennsylvania. Shout out to our folks in the Ohio Move to Amend State Network as they prepare for their 7th annual statewide gathering on April 7th. Our National Program Director, Jessica Munger, will be joining our terrific volunteers from Ohio who have been working with us to build the movement in Ohio for this gathering, as well as touring the Buckeye State. She'll be doing that. And if you live in Ohio, you are invited to come to our state network meeting. You do not have to already be involved. So join us on April 7th in Columbus. If you're anywhere in Ohio, and if you have friends in Ohio, then please let them know too. And big thanks to all of our affiliates who have registered for our 2nd ever National Leadership Summit in Washington, D.C., which will be this June 8th through 11th. It's a fantastic opportunity for Move to Amend volunteers to meet face-to-face, to get to know each other, to learn together as we continue building momentum to pass the We the People Amendment. Registration is still open, and we hope that as many folks who can will come. It's open to folks who are not just already active with Move to Amend affiliates. The first time, it was only open for people who were already engaged, but this time, now that we've got a sense of it, we are opening it up to anybody and everybody. So I'll talk, actually, that's the next thing on the list. So let me just go into it. You can register now. Again, the dates are June 8th through 11th. We'll be holding it at Trinity University in Washington, D.C. So it'll be a 3-day conference. Is that right? No, 4-day conference, because we start on Friday. And on Monday, we'll have a lobby day. That was sort of the highlight of our first one. So we'll be doing that again, and we'll be making it even bigger and better this time. We'll have excellent trainings, deep political education, community building, networking, and the empowering lobby day to close it all off. So please join us. You can go to movetoamend.org/summit to learn more and to register. And if you know right now that you can't personally attend, then please help us make it an awesome event in a couple other ways. One, you can donate to our crowdfunding campaign to help finance scholarships and offset registration costs. We're very committed to making sure this event is accessible for working class folks and low income people and students. But to do that, we need help from others to pitch in and make it possible for those who don't have the means to attend. So please make a donation to our crowdfunding campaign. Garrett will share the link. And then help us spread the word. Share the summit page on your social media, all social media. And as we're sharing announcements about the summit over the next month, registration will end, in early May. So we have about a month to get everybody lined up. And so, sorry, my cat is scratching the couch, but she stopped. So help us spread the word. We'll be sharing posts on Facebook and Instagram and Twittering about it. So let us know, share it with us, share it with your friends, and invite them to join and come, even if you can't. And if you can, invite them to come too. So we have a few more days of March, and March was Women's History Month. We put together a graphic last year, I think it was, to show the outrageous fact that the Supreme Court ruled that corporations were people before it recognized that women are people. So, yep, that happened, and most people don't know that. I didn't know that before I used to do this work. So WTF on that, and let's make sure everyone knows what our legacy of our Supreme Court is. So Garrett will share that graphic, and you can too in these couple last days of Women's History Month. Tomorrow is our second Intersectionality and Inclusivity in the Pro-Democracy Movement webinar. This is a free webinar. We're teaming up with our very good friends, Jasmine Gomez from Free Speech for People, to host a national webinar call to discuss the importance of using an intersectional lens within the pro-democracy and amendment movements, and to learn from and support those most marginalized by systems of oppression and by corporate rule. And so we had a great conversation on Sunday on this very topic. We are doing 2 webinars kind of with the same agenda, just to make it so that more people can participate. We had almost 100 people join us, and there were 180 people who were registered, so folks will get the recording as well. So we've already had a number of people participate in this conversation. We're looking forward to doing it again tomorrow night. If you weren't able to join us Sunday, Garrett's sharing the link where you can. And if you did get to join us on Sunday, then please share the link and invite your friends to come on in too. Hey, Tony, nice to see you here. And what else do I want to say about that? Oh, we found out today that a sociology class is going to all join us on Sunday. They're for their class, register or not Sunday, tomorrow, and be part of it. So that's awesome. A group in Tampa, Florida. So yay to that. Looking forward to that conversation for sure. And then we'll see where it goes from there. There was a lot of hunger for more. So we'll continue it, but we'll share with you some of the resources that we already have developed on just this topic. And Free Speech for People will share theirs. And then we have some other organizational partners who are adding really helpful information too about this topic and why it's important that this movement be intentionally multiracial, intentionally intergenerational, and that it's one thing to say that, it's another thing to actually make it happen. And because this country is so segregated, institutionally and where we live, at school, at work, just so segregated. I was, reading another story again this morning, another reminder about how most white Americans don't have any friends, Black friends. We just don't know each other. And so how can we possibly work together across these vast differences in our communities, in our experiences. Certainly, it's coming up as we're thinking about just how people respond to the police, and why Black people are terrified of the police, and why white people can't really quite understand that, because their experience with police is completely different. And that's just one example. And so how can we actually build bridges and work together if we don't even understand the experiences that we're having? And then folks with privilege are kind of conditioned and used to not really believing the experiences that marginalized and oppressed folks share that they have. And so how can we do that without intentional skill building in just this area? So that's what we're going to focus on the webinar tomorrow. And we have a program called the Movement Education Program, which maybe, Garrett, you can share that link as well, for our leaders to grow organizations, our local organizations, in a way that is intentional around the culture that we build, so that it is a container that can actually house a vast, diverse group of people that actually fits our communities, instead of our segregated communities where we normally would work. So please join us tomorrow. Let's see what else is coming up. Poster art contest. Our Arts and Culture Caucus is looking for images that relate to democracy, fighting corporate rule, people power, movements, social and environmental justice, to make some social justice and democracy themed posters that we can display at our public events. So think quotes, drawings, paintings, typography, any other kind of design. We would love to have your art be part of our presentations. And so Garrett will share the details about this poster contest, but please share it with anybody you know. And just a suggestion to think about, not just individuals. How many times do we just hear about a person instead of the movement as a whole? And really, that's what makes movements possible. So yes, Martin Luther King, critical, important. Martin Luther King wouldn't have been possible without thousands of people whose names we don't know, actually, but who were just as important in the civil rights movement, for example. So some other stuff coming up. Barnstorming. That's what we call our speaking events when we travel the country, and normally we do it state by state, and give talks about Move to Amend and how to get involved with the amendment movement, look at the history of how we got into this situation and what we can do about it. So we'll be traveling all around this country. Woody Guthrie would be proud, rambling and roaming. In April, we'll be in Ohio and Kentucky. In April also, we'll be in Montana and Idaho, and Connecticut and Rhode Island. So those are 3 different barnstorming tours with folks from our team. I'm looking forward to being in Connecticut and Rhode Island at the end of the month. And then coming up, this is all a bit tentative, but want to name this if you live in any of these states so that you're aware. We're going to take a bit of a break because of the Leadership Summit and some other stuff that we've got going on. So we'll pick back up barnstorming again in August, it looks like. And we'll be in Southern Illinois, Missouri, and Kansas is the plan so far, if we can find folks who will work with us in those places. And then also looking to do a tour in Maine, Vermont, and New Hampshire. And then in September, looking at Michigan, and as well as Georgia and Alabama and Tennessee. Then in October, for sure, going to be in Minnesota, and also Northern Illinois and Iowa. And then November, looking like probably California. And we also have an opportunity for an open spot. So if you don't live in one of those states and you want to bring us to your community, we are available in November. And also taking requests for January now. We're trying to really line this stuff up early so that these events can be as fabulous as possible. So you can stay in the loop as we update our touring schedule by going to our barnstorming page on our website. That's also where you can request a speaker to come to your town, so let us know. And again, a reminder for folks who are just joining, first of all, welcome. Great to see you here. Thank you for coming. And please share this live feed on your Facebook page and invite your friends to join you. If you use the hashtag Move to Amend, then we'd be happy to We're going to pick one person at the end of this broadcast to share a sticker, our End Corporate Personhood corporate flag from Adbusters sticker. And so don't miss out. Make sure that you share this on your Facebook and invite your friends to join. And follow us on Instagram, where we're also we're also giving away stickers for folks who share us or follow us on Instagram this month. Okay, let's see what else. Whew, there's a lot for April. We're teaming up with Free Speech TV again, our awesome friends at Free Speech TV. April 2nd marks the four-year anniversary, I hate that word, but there isn't really a better one, of the McCutcheon versus the FEC decision, where the Supreme Court expanded the amount that wealthy people can donate cumulatively to federal campaigns. And they also said that the only kind of bribery that they recognize as bribery is literally quid pro quo bribery. So like if you walk in with a money bag and you tell a member of Congress, pass this legislation, here's $100,000. Okay, that's illegal. But anything short of that, just giving money to the campaign and then kind of showing up with, here's the legislation that I thought you might want to see, or going into a representative's office and saying, I need you to veto this legislation, and just so you know, I've got $10 million ready to go in a campaign to find an opponent against you if you don't do the right thing. That's perfectly legal according to the Supreme Court. And that's thanks to the McCutcheon decision that was April 2nd, 2014. So to draw attention to that, we kind of call it Citizens United 2.0. Free Speech TV will be showing our documentary Legalize Democracy and Shadows of Democracy on April 2nd, 4th, and 7th. So check out Free Speech TV's website for times and channels in your community and how you can tune into these documentaries on those dates. We'll also be doing an interview with one of the members of our team on April 2nd with the folks at Free Speech TV to talk about this more. And let's see, Pledge to Amend is coming up. Really ready to go now because there's primaries underway, obviously, in a number of states. Pledge to Amend is our campaign to target candidates and get their commitment to support the We the People Amendment if they're elected to office. The midterms are here, and we need to make sure that all of our candidates are serious about amending the Constitution to get money out of politics and end corporate personhood. Pledge to Amend is our campaign to hold them accountable. So are your elected officials on record as committing to support the movement to amend? We're talking about candidates running for local, state, and federal office. Dog catcher. It doesn't matter. If you want to represent the people, then we want to know where you stand on the 28th Amendment. And we need to make this a litmus test issue for voters. So join our webinar to launch the Pledge to Amend campaign next Tuesday, not this Tuesday coming up, but next Tuesday, April 10th, to get plugged into Pledge to Amend. Garrett will share the link where you can RSVP and sign up. So that's the end of my report for March and what's coming up in April. And I do have some time, though, if anybody has any questions for me before we sign off. I'm not able to see the live feed anymore on my phone, but that's okay. I don't need to. I just want to make sure there's no questions. Because Garrett, this is being weird and they've changed the format of the chats, and so I can't totally tell if you're saying anything to me. Let me see. I think I'm in the wrong spot. Sorry, everyone. Technical difficulty. Oh, had a question about getting Bernie Sanders as a co-sponsor. Okay. Sorry, I don't know who that's from. We are working on Bernie Sanders as a co-sponsor. Actually, it would be not a co-sponsor. We need it introduced in the Senate, and so as the lead, whoever's first will be the lead, and Bernie Sanders is one of our targets. So far, we haven't had much luck. That's part of why we want to be in Vermont later this year to help bring together grassroots folks to let him know, constituents know, to let him know that they want to see him as their senator step forward. And we'll continue to work on that. It is surprising. You would think that Bernie Sanders, who obviously has said so much about, why we need to overturn Citizens United, and also talked about corporate constitutional rights, which is unusual and not a lot of senators will do. But he has not stepped forward to actually champion this. And so feel free to call his office and we'll continue to work on him as well. Garrett, any other questions? I do want to announce, that Bob from Seattle, Washington is the winner of the End Corporate Personhood sticker. Send us a message on Facebook, Bob, with your address, and we'll get this in the mail to you. Not this one, obviously. And if you didn't win, then please follow us on Instagram, and you'll get another chance. So, looks like... I don't see any questions. Oh, I do. I see one more from Angela. Did anyone catch this NPR interview the other day? It was on Fresh Air. You're talking about the one with Adam Winkler. Yeah, so he's a new guy on the scene talking about this, at least nationally, author and law professor at UCLA. His work is a mixed bag. And we're actually going to be putting out some information really soon. We're kind of just putting the finishing touches on our response to Adam Winkler, because on one hand, he gives an excellent history and analysis of how problematic it is for corporations to have constitutional rights. And we agree with him. He's spot on there. And then weirdly enough, he says that we shouldn't amend the Constitution to make clear that corporations don't have constitutional rights, because we've had corporate constitutional rights for so long that it might hurt corporations in some ways. And we're just really kind of baffled by that reaction, because the role of corporations, the powers that corporations have had under the law has changed over time repeatedly in our history. That's absolutely something that we can determine. We should not be afraid to solve the problem in a systemic and final way. In fact, that is the solution that we should be looking for. And then any protections that corporations should have can be determined through the legislative process. Corporations can have statutory powers, and they may very well need many, and that would be appropriate. But what's not appropriate is corporations having the same rights as people, because corporations also have limited liability, which people do not. Corporations have much more money than people. Corporations can be in more than one place at a time. And the whole idea of our constitutional protections is not that they exist because the Constitution says so. They exist because we're human beings. And so to give those powers to government-created entities, which is what a corporation is, makes no sense and makes it impossible for us to hold them accountable. And so I don't know how somebody can have such a thorough and complete and accurate analysis of how problematic, how deeply problematic, how democracy and trying to assert the people's will and define our communities, define our society is thwarted at every turn because of corporate constitutional rights, because anything that we do to try and curb their behavior or protect against a harm, they can throw up the Constitution in a community's face and say, nope, you can't do that because it violates our constitutional rights. So Winkler sees all that, spells all that out, and then somehow says that the only thing we should do is address the money and politics part of corporate power, which back in 2009, before Citizens United, corporations still had undue power and authority and were running roughshod over our democracy. So yes, Citizens United made the money and politics part of it worse, but that is not where the problem began. The other thing that Winkler does is he conflates corporate personhood with corporate constitutional rights. So corporations can be thought of as having personhood under the law for the purposes of following the law without having constitutional rights. And Move to Amend's amendment, or We the People amendment, actually doesn't, there's no problem with that whatsoever. It's not an issue. So that is the story there, and we will have more information coming out because unfortunately Winkler's sort of misinforming people about what the solution is to the problem that he so accurately spells out. And we will try to set that record straight and engage, him and his folks in dialogue to try and move that conversation to a better place. So thanks for your question, Angela. All right. Garrett, I don't see anything else. Do you? Nope. Looks like we're good. All right. So I'm going to sign off. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And I will see you next month on April 25th. Although that is the day that I am flying to Boston to do this Connecticut, Rhode Island barnstorming tour. So there's a chance we might have to tweak the day. Just kind of saw that on the calendar today. So I will see you in April, though, sometime that last week of April. And thanks again for tuning in. And congratulations again to Bob for getting our sticker. And have a great night, everyone. Keep on moving to amend. Thank you so much, Garrett, for the work that you do every time to make this live stream happen. Good night, everybody.